I think we need to have a relationship from the community to the board.
Okay.
And from the board to the administration. And I think if we can get those problems solved, there are a lot of things that we have in place now. Maybe we can add to some of those things to make it better. Because I think parents that have students in BISD should have a direct relationship with the district.
Right.
Not just teachers, but the district as a whole. And I think if parents have questions, those questions need to be answered. And they really don't need to be on hold for a week waiting for an answer.
This is the Think Brazos Podcast, and we're joined by Prentiss Madison, who is running for Bryan ISD here in 2023. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, no, thank you guys for having me. Really enjoyed the last time I was here.
Oh, good.
So,
good.
Be interesting to see what we talk about this go around.
And that brings up a good point. You know, I was thinking about it before you came in that you've been in politics for a while now. When did you start?
Well, I've been a part of a lot of organizations since my early 20s, but I got elected to the Bryan City Council back in 2016.
Okay.
So
got it. Okay, so yeah,
not
decades.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've been off the council about a year now.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you did 2 terms, so total of 6 years or 4 years?
6 years.
6
2
years.
terms, 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you threw your hat in the ring for county commissioner, got real close there.
Yeah, it was a really close race. Didn't get the outcome that we wanted, but it's just something that it was a learning experience, and I enjoyed the learning experience.
Okay, perfect. So now you're running for the ISD school board. Why?
Why? Well, it's a good question. When I was a member of the city council, I have a lot of phone calls from the community, and I guess when you're on city council, you get calls for a lot of things. And a lot of those phone calls came from people within the neighborhood, people around the community within the district. They had questions on, who do they need to talk to? They're having a problem here, a problem there, and it just kept festering, on and on. And so even, a couple months ago, I received phone calls, and I tried to get him in contact with the right individual to help relieve a question.
Even though you weren't elected, you were just helping out then?
I was just helping out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So school board, I think I have a basic understanding of how it works. But what are some of the main responsibilities as far as you understand them for the school board?
Well, one of the things, anytime you look at an elected position, I think you look at that you are there to help guide, help give direction.
Right.
I think staff and administration are there to kind of, provide you with the rules and regulations of certain things that they can do and can't do. But as a school board member, I think you really give direction to the superintendent, and she relays it to her people.
Okay.
And they kind of go from there. It's kind of like being a board of directors.
Yeah. Okay. Very similar.
Yeah.
As far as you mentioned the superintendent, I assume from your time on council, y'all had quite a bit of interaction together, or do you know her well, Ginger?
I don't know Ginger well.
Okay.
I didn't know Christy well, but I know that Miss Ginger came in with Dr. Whitbeck, and the school board elected her as superintendent, and I think she's done a great job so far.
Okay, right on. Okay, so as far as your ideas for the school board, it sounds like one of the roles is to provide guidance and policy and that kind of thing. Do you have any specifics that you're hoping to help, not push through, but formulate if you're elected?
I actually do. I think we need to have a relationship from the community to the board.
Okay.
and from the board to the administration. And I think if we can get those problems solved, there are a lot of things that we have in place now. Maybe we can add to some of those things to make it better. Because I think parents that have students in BISD should have a direct relationship with the district.
Right.
Not just teachers, but the district as a whole. And I think if parents have questions, those questions need to be answered. And they really don't need to be on hold for a week waiting for an answer. So I think it's imperative that we have someone that represents the district, that's going to represent all people across the board, and not just a particular group of people.
Okay. So are you implicitly saying that right now you feel like that could be improved on?
Oh, absolutely. We know that can be improved on, and it needs to be improved on. And I think the citizens will also agree that needs to really be improved on.
Habitat for Humanity's Faith in Action Pumpkin Patch is open the entire month of October, Sunday through Friday, 12 noon to 8 p.m., and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. The address is 2301 East 29th Street in Bryan. We've got plenty of fall photo opportunities, lots of unique pumpkins, and more, so we hope to see you there.
Well, since you were both on the city council for a while, and then now you're running for this, I am really curious about something that happened last year, and I've asked all of the candidates this. I'm not just asking you. This bus barn thing. So I think it was fall of 2022. It kind of seemed to blow up a little bit, and there was some disagreement, and I still don't feel like I've wrapped my head totally around what that was about and what was the resolution of it. Are you able to go into that?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that when you look at 2818 and Leonard Road, those are like last two hard corners that we really have on 2818 to grow the city of Bryan, grow our economic base. One of the important things is, as being a council member, you have to grow your economic base, because if your city is not growing, ultimately your city is dying. So you have to put your city in a position to grow. And as the city grows, the school district grows. And so some of those things is one of the things that takes care of the city and takes care of the school district is tax dollars. And so we could bring in HEB, a neighborhood, or anything for that corner. It's much better than us going in and putting, the bus barn there. But the problem is that as a lifelong resident of Bryan, I knew that we needed a new bus barn. Was that the greatest location for it? I don't believe it was, but I think ultimately the city was at a crossroad, and the school district's at a crossroad.
Yeah.
So I think it was something that we needed to go ahead and get done. But again, I think that's part of the school district and the city needing to have a relationship with each other to understand what are we trying to do in the city of Bryan, and what is the school district is trying to do. And one of those things is we both should be on the same page, that we know that tax dollars are very important to the citizens of Bryan and to the school district. So the biggest problem is not that the city did not want the bus barn. It's just it didn't like its location, because that was a prime location. And again, I think the city probably should have bought that corner and held on to it for a good recruiting mechanism to bring in big businesses.
Okay. So then, as far as the result, do you feel like coming out of that? I know you got off the council really quickly after that. Do you feel like there was any progress made as far as the relationship between BISD and the city? To me, looking from the outside, it did seem like it was a learning moment a little bit, where there was some.
I've even with me being off the council for about a year now, I'm talking with a couple of council members, and I've spoken to a couple of the school board members, and apparently the relationship is still a little rocky, but that's something that we can build on. And I think it's imperative that we build on that relationship, because it's important that the city and the school district are heading in the right direction together, because you can't go in two different directions and it doesn't solve the problem.
Right. So, this podcast is sponsored by Habitat for Humanity. So, of course, we're going to want to talk a little bit about housing. But before we do, I did want to back up and ask you about your background a little bit more. Did you actually go to BISD, and did your children?
Oh,
What's their
absolutely.
background?
I graduated from Bryan High School. My wife graduated from
Oh,
Bryan High
wow.
School. Three of my kids graduated from Rudder High School.
Wow.
And my youngest, he graduated from MC Harris.
MC
So
Harris,
so it was they're all four and all six, all of us are BISD graduates, as well as my siblings and my mom and dad. They're all
awesome.
BISD graduates.
Wow. So like legacy. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. You mentioned earlier that Bryan and all of BCS probably is growing pretty rapidly.
Yes.
As are probably the school districts as well. There seems to be kind of a relationship between making sure there's enough housing here to be able to do things like recruit the best teachers, to do those kind of things. And then there's the property tax issue. So I think what I'm getting at is that there seems to be kind of a connection here. And how does affordable housing or housing in general play into your thoughts when you're thinking about the things you would do as a council member? That's a horrible question as far as how I stretched it out.
Well, it's a little broad, but
yeah.
I think when you think about it, one of the things that I ran on when I first went for Bryan City Council is bringing affordable housing into Bryan.
Right.
And one of the things that we have a thing that I think a lot of people can relate to is, I mean, I think any couple should be able to buy a home and should be able to live comfortable in that home and not be so stressed out to the mortgage that how am I going to figure out what I'm going to eat, how I'm going to pay my car note, how I'm going to pay my insurance, and so on. And so one of the things that I was fortunate, I was elected to the National League of Cities Committee, and this was a problem that we were seeing worldwide. And so it went away from affordable housing to workforce housing.
Right.
And the thing about it is again, the city is a mechanism that we have to use to recruit businesses to come in to give us those paying wages that we need to be able to be able to afford to buy a house. Yeah. And right now, when we look at it in the last 5 years, the housing prices have really shot up tremendously. I mean, and therefore taxes have went up, not tax rates, but the value of houses are going up so severely. Right. That taxes are pretty much.
If you're running for office or you'd like to meet the candidates, join us on October 6th for our annual and nonpartisan candidates build. We'll put politics aside, roll up our sleeves, and get to work helping a local family build their own home.
What do you think about, I don't know if you've given it a lot of thought, but there is in the workforce housing sector, there's a lot of things going on in other cities and other states where there is a relationship between affordable housing builders and the school district, in the school district directly being a part of supplying workforce housing in high cost areas. Is that something you've thought about at all as far as the role of our school district, Bryan ISD, and would that ever be something you would even consider?
Actually, I haven't looked into it, but I think there's something that I would like to look into, especially with CT programs and the different programs that we have going on through the school district, also our partnership with Blaine College, and getting these kids the experience that they need for these jobs. I think it would be a brilliant idea to really look into it and see how can we help.
I think it's Austin.
Bridge that gap.
Austin is one that's had to do it, and I'll send you an article about it then.
That'd be awesome.
But so now to the little bit more uncomfortable question that I've asked the other candidates as well is, I was on, I think Texas Tribune publishes every year the rankings of school districts and that kind of thing. Yeah. And I've noticed that Bryan ISD is not the best, but it's also not the worst. What do you think? Could it be improved? And if so, you got any ideas for?
Absolutely, I think it could be improved. Otherwise, I wouldn't be running.
Right.
One of the things that we have to do, if we have a problem, we have to admit that we have a problem. We have to be transparent about that we have a problem and how do we go about fixing it. And I think it's not just up to the board to fix it, but I think it's a community deal. And I think all partners need to be brought in together and say, hey, this is the problem that we having. And this is, we're looking at ways to fix it. We have some ideas, but it wouldn't hurt to get other ideas. So that's part of being transparent and letting the citizens know that, hey, this is a problem. This is where we rated at. This is where we want to be. And these are the steps that we're going to take to get there. You know? And I think those are the things, that's how we should approach. That's how we should approach it.
So, you know, there's a little bit of friendly competition between the cities sometimes. And I've wondered, is there a similar kind of thing between CSISD and BISD? I don't know the answer to that. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, you know, that's a good question. Before I became a member of the city council, Bryan's Planning and Zoning Board, the Planning and Zoning Commission used to meet with College Stations, P&Z, and we would relate with things that were going on in each city. Now, as a council member, we deviate from that. The Bryan College Station councils, we didn't meet. As far as I know, that doesn't happen also in the school districts. But I think that's a relationship. I think, again, we still have to look at two cities, one community.
Right.
And I think what's good for Bryan is good for College Station. What's good for College Station is good for Bryan. And I think we need to have people in positions that really understand that, hey, it's two cities but one community, and we need to work together to make each community a better community.
Got it. Okay. Well, do you have anything else that you wanted the voters to know before we sign off, or anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. I like talking about it. I'm Prentiss Madison, lifelong resident of the city of Bryan. My family has been in the area for years, and we've worked hard to be community servants. And I'm not looking at this as anything other than as being a servant to the community of District 2. And one of the things that we'll like to see as a citizen is more transparency. Where can we fix things that need to be fixed? One of my biggest concerns was a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember, the BISD had a big school district board meeting. One of our local Texas A&M football players went on to have a successful career in the NFL, went on to coach college and NFL. And he came back and he wanted to interview for the job for the Bryan Vikings.
Wow.
The community came out. They had a big showing at the school district meeting. And the thing that really disappointed me at the end of that, after it all was said and done, we didn't even give him an interview. And to me, that's not putting, listening to the community. The community spoke. And we had several members reach out to school board members, and we thought that this was an opportunity for the school board to hear the community and say, hey, we're listening. We're here, we're listening. And not to see that this guy didn't even get an interview. That kind of really upset a lot of people within the community to say.
Interesting. No, I hadn't heard about that at all.
Yeah, and so another thing is we need to do a better job of supporting our teachers and our students. Let's look at the transparency. Let's tighten up the budget. Let's trim the fat what needs to be fat, so we can give the teachers the raises that they need, and the students, the material that they need to get the jobs done as in schoolwork. So there's a lot that needs to be done, but then again, there's a lot to go in and learn. I'm willing to go in and learn, because I have a lot of ideas, but I don't know if my ideas can even be brought to the table until I learn the ins and outs of how these things work.
Awesome. Well, Prentiss, it's been good to talk to you again. This has been Prentiss Madison running for BISD School Board. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.